This video will take you through how to use Google Forms with students. So the first thing you need to do is to create a Google form, and then you will edit the settings for that form, provide the link to the form to your students. So there are 3 steps involved. Some of the reasons you might want to do this is it can be an easy way to get feedback from your students about your course or about the content or about something specific within the content. You can also learn students' preferences within your content, and it's a good way to learn more about your students at the beginning of a semester as well. So to get started, you're going to work from your Google Drive. You simply click on the New button and go to Google Forms. This opens up a brand new form for you. Now you can customize this form. Just simply click on the artist palette. When I put my cursor over it, you'll see it says Customize Theme. Here, I can choose an image from my computer. I can use an image they already have, or I can go to Upload, Browse, and choose an image from my computer. And you'll see where it pops it in. Now, I can always change the theme color as well if I want to. Here, I can add a new color. I can change the background color. And there are also some different options regarding the font style, but this is a very limited list. Once I'm finished customizing my form, I just simply close out that little pane, the Customize pane, and then I'm back in the main area. Now, to choose my settings, I click on the gear icon. So there are 3 tabs within settings. The first one is General. Collect emails. Do you want to collect emails of the people who complete your form or not? If you're really wanting something to be anonymous, then I suggest you keep that unchecked. Require sign-in. Do you want to restrict users in Lipscomb University? One of the things I have found is this setting can oftentimes also keep your students out, because our students' email address is mail.lipscomb.edu. This particular feature, particular setting, actually looks for a lipscomb.edu email. So I usually take that off. If you only want one response from your students, then you definitely will click that. Now that will require your students to sign into Google to be able to limit that. Also, can your respondents edit what they've submitted after they submit? Or do you want them to see the summary charts and text responses? So after they submit, do you want to see what everybody has said so far, basically? So it depends upon your purpose for doing the form. The next tab is Presentation. You can show a progress bar. This is helpful, especially if you have your form going across multiple pages. So you can check that or not. You can also shuffle the question order. Because I've limited it to one response, then the option to show the link to submit another response is not available to me. If I take that back off, then I go back, then I can have that checked, or I can take that off at this point. Confirmation message. The default message is your response has been recorded, but you can customize that. You can say, thank you for your information. Your feedback will be taken into account, or whatever you would like to give as a message there. Now, Google Forms can also be used as quizzes, and that's why this quizzes tab exists. In order to get the quiz options here in the settings, you have to turn this first setting on that says this is a quiz. But I just want you to know that that's available there. So once I've done all that, I click Save on my settings. Now, I don't have a title on my form, so I'm just going to make this one student feedback. I can add a description here, but I don't have to. That form description piece will not show up to the people previewing the forum. In fact, I can check that by clicking on the preview icon that looks like an eyeball up here. And that shows me what it looks like right now. Okay. So I can also click what I typed and then click up here on the title, and it puts it right up there for me. I don't have to type it again. Now, it's time to add questions. So what do I want to ask my students? The default when you add a question is going to show up as multiple choice, typically, especially when you first start adding your questions. So let's say I'm going to ask a question like, how effective is this course for your learning? All right. So I now can, and let me fix that. Okay. I now could change this type of question. I could keep it multiple choice. I could simply do this as a short answer, which that's where the students are going to actually type in their response. I could do it as a longer answer, which is a paragraph. I could also do this particular one maybe as a Likert scale. So I could say 1 is not effective and 5 is very effective. So I've added this question. Now, notice a couple of things here. First, right next to where I type in the question, there's an icon that looks like a picture. That would allow me to put a picture in this particular question if I wanted to do that. Also, down at the bottom, you have several options. Duplicate allows you to duplicate a question. This can be helpful when you're creating a form, especially if you're maybe you have all of your questions are on a Likert scale and all you're doing is changing what the actual question says. Then that could be easy. You could speed your process by duplicating the question and then just simply changing the text. You'll see the trash can. So if you want to just take the question out, you can click that. Required. Do you want this to be something that's required that your students answer? If so, you turn that on. The default is for that to be turned off. So you have to click to turn that on. Also, notice the 3 dots. Anytime you see 3 dots in Google, that lets you know that there's more there. So you can click the 3 dots and you can say, okay, do you want to show the description? So depending upon what the particular question is, you'll get some different options there as to what other things you can do for that questions. Now, I will show you, let's say I kept this a multiple choice, right? The description is still showing because I had told it to show the description before. However, I now have some other options here as well. So it just all depends upon the question type as to what you can actually turn on and off for each question. The other thing here is I want you to notice on some of the question types like multiple choice, when you could click here to put in the answer, the first option of an answer. But notice also you have the option to add an image as a potential answer. So that's pretty cool too to consider. Okay. So this is how I go about adding questions. There is a resource that is provided in the CTL portal about all the different question types that are available in Google Forms. And so if you're really wanting to get to know each of these different types, or you want to do a specific thing, it would be a great idea to take a look at that resource as well. Okay, notice next to where your questions are building, you have some different options here. The first one is to add a question. So if I need another question, I can simply do that. And now it's added a question at the bottom. Let's say this question, I want actually for it to show above the other question. I now can click where it has the grid of 6 dots, and I get that crosshairs, and I can change the order of my questions that way just by clicking and dragging. Okay. Also, you can import questions. This import, however, is importing questions from other Google Forms. So just know that. It's not like importing a list of questions you have somewhere else. You'll see that there's an option to add a title and a description, and that's just an area where you can add in some information that's not a question. Also, you can add an image that's separate. So let's say you have a set of 3 questions that are based upon an image you want to put in. Then you would go to this add image instead of putting it on each individual question. Same thing for a video. You can add a video here, and you can add sections into your form. So if you have a section, because all these questions are on a specific topic, but you've got a second topic there are 3 questions for, then you can separate those by adding new sections. Now that I've created this, I want to be able to send it to my students. So to send it to my students, now remember, I can always preview what it looks like before I send it by clicking on that preview icon. Now to send it to my students, I simply click the send button. Here I have several choices. The first one is to send it via email. I can collect student emails if I want to, and I can turn that on here as well. I can say, okay, email to a specific person. Notice it pre-populated the message. I've invited you to fill out a form, but I can also change that if I want. And I can choose to include the actual form in the email as opposed to just simply emailing a link. The second option is to copy the link. So I can simply click on this icon, the link icon, click on where the link is showing, so it's selected, and click copy. The third option here is to get an embed code that allows you to embed the form on a web page. So you would simply click here and again copy that if that's what you wanted to do. More often than not, you're likely going to just simply copy the link. If you're wanting to put it in an email that you send out to students, the easiest way is to simply copy the link here and then include that in your message to your students. You can also include that in an announcement in your Canvas course, or if you want to link it up to a Canvas page or an assignment in Canvas, you can do that as well by simply copying the link here and then pasting it in those places. And that is how you can get started using Google Forms with students.